Hi there, my name is Colin Milligan. I am a student in ET 595U70. The date is 4/28/2026, and this is the server startup post-deployment modifications. For the current status, this current release of the server startup suite functions independently as a exe file, automating directory management and security hardening using a WPF interface. This suite currently functions solely as a localized tool. For further post-deployment improvements, specifically within the next 12 to 18 months, modifying it to a SaaS-ready or enterprise-managed solution. So the first technique chosen was SMART goals. Starting with specific was to refactor or change the existing C# logic to support remote execution over WinRM instead of the local-only execution. So just allowing for this to be executed remotely onto multiple different workstations or domain controllers rather than it having to be executed locally one by one for each device within that subnet. For measurable, achieve 100% success for remote script deployment across a substantial subnet. Achievable is using existing remote protocols for the PowerShell. Relevant provides sysadmins the ability to remotely trigger these scripts across a subnet from a centralized console, significantly decreasing the need for manual installation of the suite as well as ensuring adherence across the entire subnet. And then time bound, completion of just the remote execution module, so just the ability to execute these remotely through a centralized console within 6 months. OKRS, or Objectives and Key Results, was the second technique chosen. The objective was to transform the current local server startup suite to a cloud hybrid management program or platform. So for the key result number one is to integrate AWS or Amazon Web Services, their SDKs, to allow management of cloud instances alongside the on-premises servers. So ensuring they function both locally and for those cloud instances. Key result number two is implementing and enforcing the AES 256 encryption standard for the administrator login credentials. Currently, we just have one static administrator login credential just as a proof of concept. But when true administrator credentials are implemented, ensuring those are secured adequately. And then for key result number three, reducing deployment time for large subnets by up to 80% compared to the localized application deployment. So instead of having to go one by one for each of these devices, being able to push it out from one console. So the necessary resources for this modification. So to transition from this to an enterprise hybrid suite, these are the resources that are required. First is infrastructure, a dedicated AWS sandbox environment for both the development and the testing of these new cloud-based management features. Security tools, so just standard vulnerability scanning of the software just to identify and verify integrity, as well as ensuring adherence to the new AES 256 encryption standards. Development tools required are enterprise licenses for IDEs, as well as CI/CD pipeline tools, so either GitLab or Jenkins, to provide automated testing, as well as personnel support, auditing of the WinRM execution logic by a senior security analyst, specifically with the ability to execute remotely of these PowerShell scripts, just verifying that those adhere to the security standards and security policies in place for that new environment. So for the execution plan and timeline, months 1 through 6 is phase one. It's core strengthening. So refactoring the C# logic beyond local execution, implement and verify the WinRM remote execution in a testing subnet, just verify functionality. and then finalize the encryption standard, the AES 256, for the administrator credentials. Months 7 through 12, phase 2 is hybrid expansion. This is the integration of AWS's SDKs into the WPF interface for cloud instance management. Then cloud parity development, ensuring that the security hardening functions both cloud-based instances as well as the local workstations and devices, and then executing a small beta test. For months 13 through 18, phase 3 is scaling and public release, optimizing the application for use in large subnet environments, conducting security audits of the current application, just once again verifying that everything is as secure as it possibly can be, and then finally the public launch and deployment. Thank you.